Hi, everyone. I'm Tina Emerson, and I'm here with Big South Conference Commissioner Kyle Calander and MAKO Medical CEO Chad Price. We're going to be discussing COVID testing in the Big South Conference. Kyle, let's start with you. What were some of the steps the conference took in response to the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, like everyone, back almost a year ago in March, when everything came crashing down, we just began to think about, where do we go from here? And one of the first things we did was to get our medical advisory group formed with our head athletics trainers, our team physicians, obviously critical that we relied on really good advice for how to handle this. And we started moving forward and putting together our guidelines and protocols for what we thought we needed to try to do, which was not an easy thing. We were all flying blind. We had no idea, really what was next, what we were working on. There was so much uncertainty around what we were trying to do to make sure that we were keeping our student athletes safe, our coaches safe, and having the right things in place on campus if we were going to successfully have collegiate sports. And frankly, that's why MAKO has been such a godsend, because it's been a great resource for us to be able to work with them, understand what was necessary from a testing standpoint. And from the moment we were introduced to them from one of our institutions that was already utilizing them, it's really been a great help.
Well, that's been a lot to take on, and that brings us to MAKO. Chad, can you talk about the processes that were in place for Big South testing?
We met with their medical advisory group, and then we also looked at what we were doing with other conferences outside of the Big South. We're working for the Big 10 and the Big 12 and the ACC, and so there's actually probably 30 or 40 college conferences that we work with, and we wanted to do something that was consistent because we found that there was a lot of confusion early on with COVID about what to do and what exactly to do. So the more consistency you had in how the conferences went about the program, we felt like it would be beneficial to sports in general.
Right. And what is the turnaround time for testing, and how does that factor into Big South sports schedule?
Well, it's how you run the lab. And so we separated all of the sports teams and college conferences separately to make sure that we could get the results back quickly because we know they have games. So we have a separate portion of the lab that only focuses on running those samples. And so they're out and we get them completed in under 24 hours.
Great. And during this difficult time, I know MAKO has been able to be a great resource for you, Kyle. Can you talk about how important having a partner like this has been to the Big South student athletes?
Well, it's critical. I can't imagine us not moving forward or moving forward without MAKO being involved in what we're doing. As we first were looking at the testing protocols, how are we going to pull this off? There's two most important things. One is the timing, the turnaround. How quickly can we get the tests? Because obviously we want to make sure that our student athletes are out there and they're safe and healthy and we're in good shape. And what's the accuracy? How reliable is it? And MAKO has been so outstanding in both of those areas. So I couldn't say more about how great they've been to work with in that regard. And Chad mentions this, they really have been a leader in college athletics testing. We've relied on them for our basketball officials, our student athletes, and it's been outstanding service and outstanding results from the time we first started working with them. So it's been outstanding from a testing standpoint and really from a resource on what else is going on, around the medical community right now, and especially as we're dealing with this virus.
Right. And Chad, tell me about some of the feedback you've been getting from the student athletes from the efforts that MAKO's made.
Well, I think they were initially happy they could play. There was talk early in the year that there wouldn't be any sports. And so they've been recruited to these teams. They've been training. They're finally in college. And now they can't play because of COVID. So I think there was serious concern that the football season would be canceled. I think there was a lot of anxiety around going into basketball. Is this going to actually happen? And so I think the feedback we're getting is, yes, it's extra steps. It's more hassle to get tested daily, but it's something they want to do so that they can continue to compete.
Right. And I think that anybody who is a spectator is also really ready to watch them compete. I think it's
That's right.
It's part of our culture in the Big South. It's a huge part of our culture. So thank you both for your time today and for this important discussion. Do either of you have anything else to add?
I would just say that we made a commitment to our student athletes that we were going to support them and we were going to get them out there, and we couldn't have done it without MAKO.
Again, working with the Big South, we appreciate the partnership, and we look forward to continue working with Kyle and his team as the season continues to evolve.
Well, this sounds like a great partnership. Thank you both for being here and talking with us today.
Thank you.